everybody. Terry Foster here, and you know what? I'm feeling more comfortable with my guys over here. I'm going to call you the bitch.
Okay.
Wait,
yeah,
what?
I'm in. I feel like it right now.
Happy Sunday.
I'm going to call you Mr.
Okay. What? What?
You're going to be bad in like 2 seconds. You know why? You know where I went yesterday?
Where'd you go yesterday?
I was at the Tarik and Matt football field.
Okay. Stafford Field?
Yes. And I thought about you.
Wow.
And I said, man, Broder was here now, we'd be arguing about who's a better quarterback.
Yeah, you damn right we would.
Jared Goff.
You damn right we would, Terry. No, what were you doing there?
I gave a Juneteenth speech.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So they had a little party, or what do you want to call it, barbecue. There was no Sean Baligian stuff there.
Sorry. I would have done it if somebody asked me. You know me, twist my arm. I'll cook any time.
Yeah, the stuff wasn't as good as your stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But no, it was a family affair, and they asked me to speak to the parents.
Okay.
So the thing with my speech was networking. That you can give your child the best gift ever. Better than money, better than a PlayStation, or whatever you young people are playing today.
Mm-hmm.
I said network, put them in a position to meet people where they can begin careers. Is my thing.
That's pretty great advice.
Thank you there, Jack.
You're welcome, Reginald.
Now, fellas, I have a topic that I want to do with you guys, and it's kind of got a football and baseball slant.
You don't have to twist our arm.
Okay. Who's made the most impact as a field general here in Detroit? Is it Dan Campbell,
Mm-hmm.
who's done a wonderful job in transforming the Lions into a Super Bowl contender, and they've changed the culture, or AJ Hinch,
Ooh.
who's got, Tigers may not be the most talented team in Major League Baseball, but he's got them in position. World Series contenders? Yes?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta call
Oh,
them.
yeah. Out of the American League? Absolutely.
Best record in baseball. So who has made the biggest impact?
Terry, I may have you reintroduce that topic. Chat, let us know if Terry's mic is working or if you can hear him.
Oh, it's not
I just want to make sure because you set that up so eloquently. Otherwise, we're going to start shooting the shit and they'll be like, what are we talking about here?
I
Let's
think that's
see.
a great question.
It's a phenomenal question. I want to make sure the chat knows what we're talking about.
We call Sean a bitch.
Well, you can do that. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you do it, though.
And no one heard me call Broder an asshole.
No, they
I'm
didn't.
a little disappointed now. Is it working now?
Seems like it. No, maybe
No.
not.
Maybe I'm not speaking loud enough. Would that be it?
James Brown in the chat says it's just not very loud at all compared to the others.
Huh.
So, it sounds like they can hear you. It might just be soft. So,
I got a big mouth, so, I mean, that might be something to do with it.
chat, we're working on it. This is going to be a fun topic to talk about.
Yes. As soon as you can hear
Right.
what the topic is.
We got to hear that beautiful voice of yours.
Yes. You know what the topic is, but
I do.
what should we do?
All right, so while the boys are working on it, I can also say if you haven't been out and about yet, like the first step that you take outside today is miserable. That's all I'm going to say. And maybe that's part of the reason why Terry's calling me a bitch. Because like the second I walked outside today, it was like I wanted to turn around. You know, the automatic and just flip right around. I mean, that's where my mind was. I was like, no, I'm going to see my boys. We're going to talk some football today. But it is miserable outside. And Neil, Rule, and I disagreed about this on Friday, and I'll disagree about this until the day I die. There are some people that will take this over the 0 degree day.
Yep.
I am not one of them. I will take the 0 degree day because you know what I can do on the 0 degree day? I can grab blankie.
More.
I can wrap blankie around me, and I can light my fire in the front room.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, but young man, probably people can't hear me. When it's 100 degrees, you can turn on the air conditioner and just stay in the
living room or the
it's
basement?
not the same to me though. Because I'm still uncomfortable, even with the air on. I'm less uncomfortable, but I'm still uncomfortable. Does that make sense? And like with the cold weather, man, seriously, blankie right in front of the fire.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm all right. You know, that uncomfortable, the humidity, all that crap. No, I'm going to take a pass.
Your
I'm gonna
house
take a pass.
is humid?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
See, mine is not.
Yes. It just you feel it. You know what I mean? It's just it's probably in my mind. Let's be honest. You know.
Probably.
This stretch is unlike no other. But Terry, we are good to go.
Okay,
Your mic
can
is
you
working.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now should I start all over, or what should I do?
Let's get into this Lions topic.
Okay.
I like this. It's a good question.
Lions, who's made the bigger impact in Detroit sports as a field general? AJ Hinch or Dan Campbell?
It's a fantastic question.
Can I go first?
Please.
Yeah, please.
AJ Hinch. And let me tell you why. I don't think they have the talent in mass that the Detroit Lions do. I really don't. I think you can look at your boy, Jared Goff, okay? We can look at Jahmyr Gibbs. We can look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. We can look at the best lineman in football, in Penn. We can look at Hutch. We can look at all the pieces that they have on the defense. I don't think the Tigers have in mass the talent that the Detroit Lions have. And I think that counts for something. You know, I mean, how many times we're sitting back, I mean, whether it be chaos, whether it be spot starters, whether it be Zach freaking McKinstry, you know what I mean? No disrespect to Dan, because Dan had to do two jobs. He had to flip culture as well. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
I mean, that's a common theme around here. What Terry and I grew up with and what we saw with our own two eyes, you know, during all the time that we covered the Lions. But I'm still going to go AJ, Terry. I don't think it's a big gap, but I'll go AJ. Broder, is the baseball guy going to go football?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not, and I have kind of a weaselly answer here.
Oh, boy, that's a shocker.
I know, right? I think AJ Hinch has done more for his team right now. I think Dan Campbell has done more for the Lions organization up to this point. Now, AJ may go out and win himself a World Series this year. Dan Campbell may go out and win a Super Bowl this year, and we're flipping this story. But I think for all the reasons you just said, how AJ Hinch has been able to create the best team in baseball this season and really over the last 12 months with the talent that he has, you got to give it to him. Dan Campbell's done great things rebuilding that culture, but AJ Hinch he's made magic out of scraps.
Terry, let me ask you this.
Oh, go ahead.
As a follow-up. How many stars do the Detroit Tigers have? I think there's one.
There's one.
Really?
Yeah.
As much as I like Riley Green.
Tarik, Alexander, Skubal.
Right.
Riley Green is not a star to me.
I agree
He
with
is
you.
a good
as much as
player.
I like Riley Green, I think the Detroit Tigers have one star. I would say that the Detroit Lions have multiple stars. Multiple
All right.
stars.
I'm going to disagree with both
Yes,
of you
let's hear it.
slobs. I'm going to say Dan Campbell for this primary reason. The Lions were such a garbage organization with a garbage culture with a bunch of players who did not believe. Now, when you walked into the Lions locker room, you immediately became lionized. So
True story.
how do you change that? You get a guy that comes in and is all rough and tumble. He's bigger than half his players. He's cursing them out. He's placating the public. He brings an energy to an organization that was dead for decades.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Dan Campbell because I didn't think it was possible to uplift this organization. Tigers at least have had championship days. The Tigers at least have had a good culture. But the Lions, man, it was such a terrible organization.
Yeah.
Perhaps one of the, I used to say the worst in amongst all professional sports. I would say the bottom 10 of all professional sports with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. And you can point right at Dan Campbell to flip things for this organization.
I think, really, fellas, there is no right or wrong answer.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So what's your cup of tea?
Yeah.
Because both men have done something. They've not only made their teams better, but they've changed their profession. For instance, Dan Campbell. We laugh at him. Dude, why do you go for it so often? You gambling too much. Now the rest of the league is like, hey, that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to gamble. All right? AJ Hinch. Now, he didn't start the opener thing, but he did kind of introduce pitching chaos, which other managers are doing now.
He decided to just do it for 4 games. He had one starting pitcher and decided to do it for 4 games and not one here and there.
So they're both trailblazers.
You know why? And this is one thing that I'll give Dan Campbell some love for. I have said this so many times over the past couple decades, on radio or television. How many times did you hear somebody say some variation of this line? The Lions suck and will always suck. I never accepted that. I refuse. To this day, I will not accept that whole totality of always.
I did.
Well, let me tell you why, Terry. Because I watched the Golden State Warriors, an absolute nothing franchise, woebegone franchise, get the right people in place who got the right people and turn them into a championship. Yeah. Okay? Wayne Gretzky's the safest dude on earth. Okay? Doesn't have a negative word to say about next to anything except the New Jersey Devils. Wayne Gretzky once called them a Mickey Mouse organization. Wayne Gretzky said that.
Wow.
He doesn't say anything about anybody. He's the safest, classiest guy.
You know what the worst thing he says? I don't split nines.
Yeah, right.
That's the worst thing he's ever said.
But same thing. You got the right guy in place in Lou Lamoriello. He got the right people, Jacques Lemaire, Marty Brodeur, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the one thing I would take off that path that people like Terry were on, because I was like, no. It's about getting the right people.
Yeah.
My concern was, and this is where Terry and I kind of joined back on, we had ownership that wouldn't allow the right people to come into place. That was always my concern. But thankfully now we have ownership that said, we have a problem here. We have to do something to fix this. So that was the one. And that's why, I shake my fist at my late grandfather to this day. Don't waste your time. Yet nothing but heartache. They're never going to win anything. My brain don't work that way, man. It just don't work that way. You get the right people in place, and you can become something else. And we've seen it time and time again in sports.
That's true, but what if you have ownership that can't identify the right people?
That was the biggest problem.
The Detroit Lions, within their organization, had Jerry Venisi, who won a Super Bowl with the Bears, Don Shula, who became a Hall of Fame coach. What is it, Belichick?
Yep.
Part of the Lions. I mean, so they had people. They also had others who said, we'll come and help you. Bill Parcells, we'll help you out. Lions said, nah, we good. We got Matt Millen.
Seriously?
Yes.
True story.
God damn.
It happened.
Bill Parcells, he didn't even need a title. He didn't have to be GM. He wanted them to hire him as a consultant. And then, maybe he could be GM. And they said, nah, we good, bro. Thank you. Thanks for the offer, but we good. We got Matt Millen and Marty Mornhinweg. Remember how you used to say his name?
Yeah. Oh,
it wasn't Marty Mornhinweg. It was, my name is Marty Mornhinweg.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, but, Terry, I think we are blessed to have 2 guys at the helm right now. Forget about just changing things. Like, you can legitimately sit back today on, June 22nd? You could sit back on June 22nd and say, yeah, I have legitimate expectations for both the Detroit Tigers and the Detroit Lions. And I don't feel like a slapdick about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't, because, and anybody can say, this is our year. You could say that every year. You could say that during the Millen era. Okay, but when you can say it and legitimately mean it, I think we're there right now. I wouldn't have any problem if anybody said, yeah, the Lions are winning the Super Bowl. Okay, cool, I hope so. You know what I mean?
But back in the day, there was no reason to believe that.
Well, that's why and this was always, so many people put the Caldwell era on this pedestal. And I'm like, that's not how other NFL franchises live, man. Golly gee, we got in the playoffs a couple times. And that's not the goal. And unfortunately, our expectations were such that, that was a big thing for our franchise.
Yeah, that was the golden era of Lions football. 9-7.
Oh.
And getting booted in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, then they finally got the competent guys in the front office and ownership to realize they needed to bring Jared Goff to town to get a little closer to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
There he goes again.
You know what I'm saying?
It was Jared Goff did not turn this franchise around. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell did.
Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Chris Spielman, Sheila. The list goes on.
Right.
It isn't just Jared Goff.
And the 2 draft picks they got along with Jared Goff.
Huge. What Brad Holmes has been able to do in his tenure here in Detroit, without winning a Super Bowl yet, we can clearly say he's the best GM in Lions football history, right?
Oh, it's not even.
It's not even close.
No, there's not a debate. You can't even put up somebody and say, well, what about so-and-so?
No. Right.
You can't put anybody else in the conversation.
Right.
Nope.
And that's sad. Really, it's Brad Holmes against Matt Millen.
You know what I was going to say? As silly as it sounds, Martin Mayhew's probably number 2.
I think you're right.
That's how that's how silly it sounds.
Yes.
Martin Mayhew is probably
What about
number
Chuck
2.
Schmidt?
Oh boy, I'm not going there. I know a lot of players that won't go there either, too.
No, I know. But he learned from who did he learn from? The old guy.
Yeah.
What's his face?
Russ Thomas.
Russ Thomas, right? Who his whole goal was to keep payroll down and piss players off.
Yep.
That's what he did. And one of the reasons the Lions couldn't win is because the whole locker room was mad at the organization, and the organization was pissed at the players. So I used to nickname the Lions 3 Mile Island. The coaches would blame the players would blame the coaches, and the front office for being in dire straits. But who helped turn that around? Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Because, see, the Lions are going to have to go through this thing about payroll. Well, they're going through it now. There's people that can't pay. There's people that are going to pay. And then that's what pissed players off before. So how do they navigate this part of becoming a championship organization?
Yeah.
That's going to be tough because everybody wants to get paid. And fans know you're not going to get a bunch of hometown discounts because you got one crack at this. These players want to get paid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's where football, especially in the NFL, is such a unique sport because of the longevity of the players, because of how physical it is, how dangerous it is. These players aren't giving out hometown discounts because this might be their only chance at that second contract, or, you know, even if it's a veteran minimum, like you're getting a couple $1 million, that's life-changing money. So you want to go to an organization that will not just respect you, but protect you, will put you in the right position to succeed and to be safe. That's why they sign Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell early. You're locking in your guys early to show that faith throughout the rest of the organization. If you come here and you perform, you do what we do here in Allen Park, here in Detroit, you're going to get rewarded. And those are two of the best players at their positions. Penei Sewell was an early round pick. St. Brown wasn't. They earned that. Those guys earned that money. We think Penei Sewell's a gold jacket loading type guy, so I'm not worried about that.
I hate the term hometown discount. I hate it. I think it's become so bastardized over the years. I mean, for the amount of times that we say it, how often has it actually occurred? I'm serious. Like Nick Lidstrom is a guy that I can say, even though, of course, he comes from Sweden, late in his career, he gave a hometown discount. That is one guy I can say he was still at the top of his game, a Norris Trophy candidate, and he's getting paid $4 million. He could have blown off to Florida, got a $9 million contract like that. And, oh, by the way, the tax benefits that come with it. But he had the house, he had, the family here, he had the friends. He wasn't going to do it. The term hometown discount, simply put, is an incredible rarity in sports.
It's a fan fantasy.
You got it.
We need that. One of you guys, maybe it's if you're filling in on Big D Energy, and one of the RIP Tuesday, RIP Wednesday, to get rid of the hometown discount.
Oh, please.
How about it?
It's silly. It doesn't work that way. It just now again, it's not a hard and fast rule. There are very few exceptions to a much greater rule. And that's why I think the amount of times it's thrown out there, I think it's junk. It's business. These guys want to make their money. It's that some, especially running backs.
Oh, yeah.
You get to the open market, you got a chance to grab your money. Go get your money. Because your shelf life is nothing to begin with. I'm not going to begrudge you
That's
that.
true, but there is another factor that goes into the quote-unquote hometown discount. Let's say St. Brown signed a contract that was a hometown discount. The union's going to step in and say, dude, you can't sign that.
Yeah.
Because we got to worry about our other players. And you over here cheaping out, they will step in and say, you can't accept that.
Yeah.
So you got to get a bigger contract. So there's no such thing as a hometown discount.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, if St. Brown had the decision to take, $40 million with the Colts to play with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, or $30 million to play with the Lions and Jared Goff, how can a union say, no, go, you have to go play with the Colts and have those quarterbacks throw you into danger every time you cross the middle? I'm taking $30 million with Goff versus 40 with Richardson and Jones.
Now, fellas, we all agree that Tarik Skubal likes it here. He seems to like the fans. He talks well about the fans. He's got great coaching and pitching. He's not going to give you a hometown discount.
No, sir. Set your watch to that. Nope. No way.
Is he going to sign for $15 million a year?
No.
No.
Nope. Not going to
Add
happen.
$35 million to that.
Right.
Yep.
And add the years to it.
Yeah. Baseball's we were talking about the Ohtani contract before the game, and we're having our own little sidebar. The money handed out in baseball is ridiculous. But there is that collective bargaining agreement coming in 2 years.
They're going to have to do something about it.
They have to.
They have to. They're at their NHL moment.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. They're at their. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw them do the same kind of threats that the NHL had to do, where they told the guys, nobody wanted to listen. You guys, we are going to shut down this league unless we get cost certainty. Cost certainty, which was AKA the cap. And they told the guys, they said, we will shut down the league. And they stared at each other. And then all of a sudden it got January, and people are going, they're not going to cancel this year, are they? And then all of a sudden it got into February, and they're like going, okay, so when the strike happened, we started in January. Now it's February. And then if you remember, Terry, going back to 2005, they literally said, you guys, we're going to shut down the year. There will be no season. There will be no playoff. You guys have to accept that. Nobody blinked. Season was gone. And you would have thought that, Broder, you were young. Terry and I experienced this. You would have thought that 94 would have been that moment for baseball, and it wasn't. And as I sit here today, Broder, I don't know what you think. I have a feeling that MLB is staring at some kind of cap, staring at it, with a floor, with a ceiling, et cetera, staring at it.
I'm with you. And,
yeah,
and
but
I think they should.
you don't blink into the most dire
you got it
part.
Yep.
Everybody's
and I
like, okay,
think
whatever. Yeah.
I think unfortunately that's what we're going to see. I mean, because you guys, whether I say it all the time, I don't know how else to say it. I don't care if you're the biggest MLB fan in the world. I don't care if you're the biggest NHL fan in the world. I don't care if you're the biggest NBA fan in the world. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. The NFL is king.
Yeah.
That they work seriously. They work on a different. It's a different paradigm, man. It's a different world. We can't compare these sports to the National Football League. COVID proved that to everybody, Terry. The NFL basically, we don't need you here. You know the fan entitlement, which we all have it in some way, shape, or form. They basically told everybody the COVID year, we don't need you.
Yeah, the little fan is going to say, if you don't give me what I want, I'm not going to show up to the game. The NFL's like, don't show up. We're not going to let you in. And guess what? They still made money.
Yep.
They put up paper heads in the stands.
Right. We don't need your asses here.
Yeah. And we still watched it on TV.
Right.
We still got them their money.
So, we're not backing off. You're not backing off AJ Hinch.
Nope.
I'm sticking with Dan, the man, Campbell.
Yeah, I'm going AJ as well. But I agree with you, Terry. I'm not gonna beat you for it.
No.
No. How do you? No, you're wrong. Right?
Yeah,
No,
it's one of those arguments where you're not going to grab somebody in the head and like say, come on, boy, what's wrong with you? Come on.
Jared Goff is the best quarterback in Lions history. You know?
Baloney.
I don't know about that. But although James Brown in the chat, the real James Brown, says Terry again proves he's the most intelligent and wisest voice in Detroit sports media.
Damn.
He nailed this question,
Of
James
course.
Brown said. Got a lot of interaction with Rando Smalls and Crazy
feel
Clown.
good.
What was that? James Brown?
James Brown.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
it?
He's feeling good after your answers, Terry.
Okay.
Steve Lehman totally bought a cardboard cutout of himself during those COVID days.
All right. Now, you were perusing through junk, and you found out what the Lions receiving core was ranked number 4 in the National Football League.
Yeah, actually, that was something Sean threw in our
that was
text
Sean.
chain,
All right.
which brought up some thought. They're the number 4th overall rated wide receiver group, according to PFF. And I think they're behind. Number 1 is the Eagles. Number 2 is the Buccaneers. Number 3 is the Bengals. And then they got the Lions.
I can buy that.
All right, so here we go. Eagles earned a 79.1 PFF receiving grade last year. Had A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They also used Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, and Dotson. They had Tampa at number 2. They had Cincinnati at number 3. Now, the Lions, according to PFF, had the highest team grade last year at receiver.
Yeah.
The highest.
And they're all back, by the way.
Here's what they say. 5 Detroit players recorded marks of 74 or higher. St. Brown, Jameson, Laporta, Gibbs, David Montgomery. St. Brown and Montgomery earned elite 90-plus PFF receiving. The Lions receiving core is diverse and features high-ceiling players at every position. And they come in at 4th. By the way, in case people were wondering, this is something that we went back and forth with last year with the cute little Viking fans who said they had that.
So cute.
They came in at number 6.
The Vikings at 6.
Vikings at
That's
number
a
6.
very fine number.
Very fine number.
I still think the Lions get marked down a little bit because of St. Brown. He doesn't stretch the field. He doesn't average 16, 17 yards per catch. He's just a workhorse. He's almost like a running back in the passing game, in that if you need a short yardage situation, they can double and triple team him, but he's still going to get his yards.
Yeah.
But he's not spectacular.
He's not flashy like, I guess, A.J. Brown, who's number 1, Mike Evans, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's a good twosome. But when you look at the depth of the wide receiver position, tight end position, and running back position, it is hard to not have the Lions at number 1. And I'm not mad at this. They're great teams above us. The Buccaneers have depth out their butt. But the Lions, I mean, when Khalif Raymond, TeSlaa, when that's your 4 and your 5, you got a top 5 tight end with Laporta and 2 of the best pass-catching running backs in the league.
And I think Laporta's
they're
going to be
up
a
there.
lot better this year.
I think so, too.
I thought there was some disconnect between him and Jared Goff last season. I couldn't put my hands on it. It was like they just weren't on the same page.
If the Jameson Williams season is everything we think it's going to be,
Oh, it is.
we might revisit this by the end of the year too. I'm with you.
We shall.
I'm not gonna cry over this. Number 4. I know. Oh, how could you say that? They were number 1 last year and everybody's back. Hey, relax, calm down. But if this Jameson Williams year is what I think is going to be, I know so many other people think it's going to be. We'll have this conversation again come January because that I think the one thing that hurts them, at least from national perspective, is where's the home run power? And I still don't think the average human being understands we have the home run power. Yeah. And then some. We do. I think he's going to let the people know this year. I really truly do. I think Jameson's on par for a huge year.
And
I hear you. However, I still think my bunion is saying Sam Laporta is going to be spectacular this year.
Okay, I won't argue with that either.
Yeah.
And even though J-Mo may get more touches and maybe more yards and stuff, I just think Laporta is going to be a monster.
Part of what's special about Jameson Williams is he doesn't require 10 targets a game to get his 100 to 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. He might need 2. He might need 3 to statistically be there with some of the other
I can't say that word
tier
either. Receivers.
Statistically.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
It is.
Like everything gets stuck.
Yeah, you got to really enunciate.
And don't forget the little jet sweeps that he'll couple a game.
Right. Got to just toss it to him or toss it to him forward so it's a catch. But no, him having the year that we expect out of him, to me that will just, and I believe it already, but that puts him above the T. Higgins of the world. These top number 2s, the T. Higgins, the Devontae Smiths, who are both great receivers. I think Jameson Williams has a lot more potential than those 2 players. And that's where I see them next year making that jump for a PFF list. I'm more, if I'm being honest, I know it's not Lions related, I'm more like confused with some of the other wide receiver corps that are down lower. Like the Texans at number 10, I think they have a nasty receiving group.
I do
when
too.
Tate Dell's healthy.
Yep.
And the Colts. And I know we brought them up for not having a quarterback, but they've got 4 really good wide receivers, 5 if you want to include that Gould, the rookie from last year. But when you're going Pittman, Downs, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, Jonathan Taylor out the backfield, they're ranked 17th.
Is the Anthony Richardson experiment done, yo? Is it like, right? You got to drop that, right?
Should be. It's not.
It's not happening.
It should have been done before it started.
Right. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
They should have gone and got our boy from Minnesota, Darnold.
Yeah.
Instead of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing down in Indy. But
they are just the ultimate we're in the race until mid-December team. They really are. They're just, it seems like every year they're right there. You know, I know Neil Rule always uses the term, you know, when you're showing the playoff hunt and or with. You know, when the playoff chances and or with. It's like you just put that Colt logo up there, right? That dumb horseshoe. They are the poster child for that. But, you know, getting back to the Lions, listen, St. Brown's going to get his. Make no mistake about that. That's the undeniable to me. But this is where I think it gets interesting. I think if you're talking about receptions, St. Brown's going to lead it, and he's going to lead it by a mile. But this is where it gets interesting. As Terry said, do we see more of Sam Laporta? Mm-hmm. Do we have, as you said, 4 receptions, 120 yards from Jameson Williams? Okay, he mixed in a 60-yarder and then had 3 other catches for 55, 60 yards or whatever. I think that's where those numbers might shine, is where he might eclipse St. Brown is the yardage. Mm-hmm. Especially, I think, the all-purpose yardage, as you guys were talking about with the sweeps and whatnot. But St. Brown's still going to get his.
Right.
Make no mistake about it.
Allen Robinson talked on the heavyweights this last week about just that, how valuable Jameson Williams is to this offense, both from what he can do athletically and as an individual receiver, but also because he doesn't require a lot of those targets to get his. So the St. Browns, the Laportas, the Tim Patricks of the world, they can still have a incredibly meaningful role in the passing game. Like you said, St. Brown isn't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. He's still going to lead this team in receptions. J-Mo just doesn't need 100 receptions. T. Higgins, does he need 80, 90 targets to get his 10 touchdowns? Yeah, he does. Devontae Smith does too.
And if you don't give him those targets, he's going to bitch about it.
That too. J-Mo's just going to be over on the sideline practicing humping some pylons.
Right.
We do have the most elite
I hope he enjoys
touchdown
it.
celebration wide receiver crew.
Well, they practice.
They do.
If you practice, you're going to be good.
They do. They do.
But they're going to have a no humping rule for J-Mo.
I think that might be a new Scotty Montgomery rule taking over running the wide receiver group. He might not let them do as much as Antoine Randall would, but I think they also value the guys having fun. And that's part of – they're all 24 years old and younger. Mm-hmm. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram. And they want to be a part of that social media craze to increase their popularity. And it's worked for St. Brown.
I'm just afraid J-Mo's going to get one of those pylons pregnant. That's what I'm afraid of.
Happy Father's Day.
Yes.
Yeah. He just might. It's a talented offense that Jared Goff has a lot to work with this coming year.
He does.
I'm not upset about it. I read it. I know some people are going to complain. Everybody, we deserve to be higher, all that. I'm not going to sweat that too much because I think two things. Number one, you could make the argument, much like we were having the conversation earlier. I'm not going to get mad if somebody says Dan Campbell. I would hope that somebody doesn't get mad if you say AJ Hinch.
Right.
I think this is a season of opportunity for this receiving core. Okay, maybe it's almost like all those years we were so bad. I'm convinced people around the National Football League didn't understand what a bad franchise we are. And I talk to people, and I know, Terry, you talk to people. I talk to people from other markets. I'm talking about, like, sportscasters. People, it's your job to do that. And you'd say things to them, and they're like, no, that ain't true. Yep, no, really, we've won one playoff game. No, that isn't true. Dude, you got to go look that up. Holy jeez, oh, Pete, are you serious? Well, now the flip side's happening. I don't think maybe people understand in mass, even with the success of the last couple of years. I don't think people understand in mass how much talent's here. And that's cool. Now, that doesn't mean, I think people know the Detroit Lions are a threat. I'm not saying that we're going to sneak up on anybody, but I think some eyes are going to be opened, because especially the deeper you go into the playoff, I think people start to pay attention. Whether we want to admit it or not, I think a couple of years ago, a lot of people looked at us as a cute little story.
Yeah.
I really do. I firmly believe that.
I think what's happening, at least from a national perspective, they look at the losing of two coordinators. That might be the downfall of the Lions, but it's something that they can overcome maybe next season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way people are looking at things now. That you maybe take a 1 year step back and then you rebound next year.
I just think people have short memories, man. I do. I bring it up all the time. I look at the circumstances with Dallas. Norv Turner's gone. There's the offensive guru, Troy Aikman's best friend, Dave Wanstead's gone. All those years of the New England
wasn't
Patriots.
Dave Wanstead a little bit of a clown?
Yes, absolutely he was.
All right.
But that didn't stop people. And so was Norv Turner for that matter. But that didn't stop people saying, well, that's it for Dallas. That's it. And all the years that the New England Patriots lost their guys. Now, I understand they had the greatest quarterback of all time at the helm, but I think people have short memories like that, man. I do. And I'm a firm believer, and I heard a Lion say that this particular week. I'm a firm believer that players make plays. Mm-hmm. I am. For all the egos of coaches, all right, I'm a firm believer that players make plays. It's not the system.
I agree with you on that, but I think this fan base is not used to losing coordinators.
Yep.
Because they would stay here forever because nobody wanted them.
Yep.
But when you're good and when you make noise in this league, guess what? People are going to hire your coordinators as head coaches. They want them in their organization. They're going to pay big money for them. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it.
We're living the reality that so many other teams in the National Football League lived. This is a copycat league, okay? And people have looked at the modicum of success that the Lions have had, and now they want some of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Terry, to your point, we're living like other NFL franchises did, and we didn't for so many years. We did our expectations. I think our fan base is guilty of it. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, I don't care. Do you know how many arguments I had with people saying, we got to stop thinking like Lions fans? Yeah. Like, really, we have to start thinking like other NFL. Just making the playoff isn't something to have an orgasm over. You know?
I looked this up. When over the course of like a 50-year span, the worst organizations made the playoffs 3 out of 10 years. So that's 30% of the time. This is the worst. The worst of the worst. So making the playoffs is cute, but it ain't all that in a bag of chips.
No.
Because a lot of times, under Wayne Fonts, if the Lions win their last 7 games, they could make the playoffs. If Minnesota loses twice and if Green Bay loses a couple, it was always that scenario. And guess what? And sometimes it actually happened. Mm-hmm. They would be dead and they win their 6 out of 7 games or 7 out of 7, whatever they had to do. And it was like, oh yes, oh yeah, this franchise, snuck in at 9-7. I think they're going to the Super Bowl now. That's the way the fan base.
Then in the odds, Terry, how many times when we were sitting in the sports radio chairs did you have people call in and you were dumb? You legitimately, you were dumb, or my favorite term of all is hater. I love hater. I love hater. It's such a lazy term. But you were dumb or a hater if you couldn't see that late season victory, that December 28th victory over the Rams, who played none of their starters, had nothing to do with carryover the next year. Man, I don't know, T. The way the Lions finished the season last year, man, I think you're underselling carryover. What?
There's no carryover.
There's no carryover.
There's no carryover.
No.
Nah, did you ever get this one? Sean, you bastard, you.
Hater.
The reason the Lions can't win is because of your negative commentary.
Yes, I love that.
If you were a little bit more positive, the fellas would listen or they would read and they would have they'd feel better about themselves. You're the reason, motherfucker, that the Lions can't win. I used to get that shit all the time.
It was your fault, Terry.
It was my fault.
I think one of the funniest things, and this happened not that long ago. I mean, there was so much of that stuff on Twitter. It was insane. Is when people would get so mad at same old Lions. People, you know how you stop same old Lions? You stop being the same old Lions. Now, I do not use that term today because these guys have not been the same old Lions. Now, I know that there are still some sticklers out there, and there are probably going to be some people in the chat that argue with me, okay? All right, the same old Lions do not win back-to-back divisions, okay? The same old Lions do not win playoff games. When things that have never happened before, and I know we talked about this in one of our early shows, when things that have not happened before are dubbed same old Lions, that's where you and I have to take different paths, man. I'm going in a different direction than you. For some people, that's never going to go away until they win a Super Bowl. Period. End of story. Right. I disagree with that person.
Or there could be a different same old Lions.
Yes.
It's the same old Lions that can't win the big game. It's the same old Lions that can get to the NFC Championship and can't win it. That's a possibility. But the whole same old Lions from back in the day, that is not going to happen.
A lot of moving the goalposts with that. It really is. There's a
second.
lot.
Tommy Hearns has something to say.
Yeah,
Tommy!
Yeah. What's up, Tommy?
Great shirt, by the way.
Thank you. I got a question for you two, for Terry and you, Sean. What does the city rag? If the Lions ever win the Super Bowl, how does the culture of the Lions organization change if they won one Super Bowl?
Did you hear that?
No,
I did not. Tommy, you got to speak up because we don't have.
How you feel out here. If the Lions win the Super Bowl? Did the organization change the whole atmosphere of Detroit if they win one Super Bowl? How's the city gonna feel?
I think if the Lions win the Super Bowl,
yes.
How much does the entire organization change?
The city itself.
The city, everything changes.
We lost our identity. We did. We're the Chicago Cubs.
Currently.
Yeah, I mean, really. When the Chicago Cubs won the World Series, they lost their identity. I don't care what anybody said. Mm-hmm. I mean, our whole lives, no matter who you are, okay, what was crammed down our throats is what the lovable losers, Wrigley, just go have a beer, all that stuff. Detroit Lions, whether we want to admit it or not, have been synonymous with losing and people laughing at us. And a lot of people out there, why the hell are they even on Thanksgiving?
Right.
And we like our entire identity changed. I told you, I'm done. Like, I'm serious. Everybody, I don't care how you react. When I say I'm done, it doesn't mean, I'm never watching again or anything. I will never bitch about this franchise again.
Yeah.
I will have I'm just not going to get worked up over, and that will take me through the rest of my days.
Here's what happens with the Lions if they win a Super Bowl. Everything changes, and then people are like, okay, when they're going to get the second one?
Yeah.
Damn.
Got one. Let's get a second.
Just
Just
give
like
me
that.
one,
Wow.
please. I want a second one, but I won't need a second one. I won't fiend it.
Okay.
But you got to give me that first one, Terry.
Let me think about it.
Honestly, I will. I'm, and I told my son in particular. I said, "You hold me to this." I said, "If you and I are watching a game, the season after the Super Bowl win, and like you hear me complaining about something, I want you to go straight to the pantry, grab an old can of corn that's been in there for like 10 years, and fire it in my skull to wake me up. I'm serious.
Damn.
Just fire
corn.
it, and I hope I get ripped open because I deserve it. You know, I'll take those 10 stitches and say I deserved every gosh damn thing of that. Because for a lot of us, it's like studying a tree, right? The tree has the rings. You cut a tree open, you see how many rings it has, you tell how old it is. We have, guys like Terry and I, have extra inches of butt hurt scar tissue. We've seen more. We've experienced more.
Yeah.
We've seen it up close and personal, man. So if like the biggest tormentor in my life wins a Super Bowl, we're even.
You might be butthurt, but I have a lot of laugh marks.
Yes.
Because the stuff was so silly, I would just be laughing at these fools.
You had to get to that point for your health and well-being. You really, when I was doing all those post-game shows, I remember I'd come home from work, and I kid you not, and I'm not proud of this. I'd come home from work, and my kids would kind of like, what kind of mood is Dad in today? I'm like, all right, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here if this is like dictating my mood and stuff like that, especially when I get home to the kids. And it was just like the power that I took back is I said, Lions, you are not going to ruin any more Sundays or Mondays, or if you play on Saturday or if you play on Thursday. That was the power that I took back. It's like, nope, I have to turn that off. You are not going to ruin my day. Now, there were things that I had. Sometimes I took off to the cider mill. Today's
I was just going to ask you about the cider mill.
Today's going to be a
How
cider
many
mill
times
day.
on non-working Sundays did you go to the cider mill?
Way too many. So, I remember there was a game. I forget which one it was, but it was during the 2008 season, and I wasn't working. For some reason, Andre Johnson in Houston comes to my mind. But it was one of those games early in the game where you knew. And I was like, man, it's 1:20. I'm not doing this to myself today. And you took off to the cider mill. And joy and sweet donuts awaited
The donuts
you.
are
You
awesome.
were in a special place.
But, okay, young man.
All right.
What have cider mills added the last few years? And I think it's to help Lion fans.
What?
Cider mills now have wineries.
Ooh, that's a good point.
So you can go there
That's a good point.
and tell the kids, go get your donuts and get your apples. Daddy's going to be in here having a couple drinks.
Yeah.
That is for Lion
Dad
fans.
has a special drink.
Right. I got my own little apple cider here, but it's got a little something, a little
There's a
extra
kick to
punch
it.
in there.
It's
Now,
tight.
I'm convinced cider mills added those for Lion fans.
They might have.
So come on in. We're going to help you out.
Yeah. Spike it like Joseph Fourier.
You know what?
You know what? If the Lions remain bad, you know what they were going to do with the cider mills? Add distilleries. Come on in. Send the kids out for donuts and cider. We got you hooked up. A little bourbon, a little gin, a little vodka, whatever you want.
Now
to get you through this Sunday.
You know what's funny? Like last year, we were joking about this. Now it's the reverse cider mill. It honestly, it's like somebody throw the Uno reverse card out there. That Tennessee Titans game, there was no reason for me to continue to watch that. There wasn't. That game was so over. So you know what I did? I got a big smile on my face and I said, I'm going to the cider mill. So you really have legitimately reverse cider mill moments now. So we all had to cope, but yeah, to your point, man, our entire identity changes. Really and truly. Our entire identity. I don't care what anybody says. If you grew up with this team, okay, at some point in time, you either believed or it crept into your mind, we are never going to win. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I can say I didn't accept it, and I didn't accept it. But at the same time, you know what you did? You said, gosh damn it, maybe they're right. Gosh damn it, maybe they're right. Maybe we are the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. Maybe we are the Chicago Cubs. And while it's not as dramatic, well, try telling that to all the people who their entire lifetime they've seen nothing but crap.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can talk about, well, you know, they haven't won since 1908, and, you know, at least we won in 1957. Who saw them win in 1957?
Not me.
What does that matter?
I didn't even see it.
Yeah, you didn't even see it.
In your entire lifetime, you've seen nothing.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's what angered me about the whole lovable Lion fans. The Boston Red Sox got sympathy nationwide. The Chicago Cub fans, lovable Cub fans, they got all this love. Lion fans never got that. Yep. Lion fans deserved it every bit as much as Red Sox and Cubs fans, if not even more, because it's football.
And more.
Yep. That's to me, that I think if anything, being showcased on Thursday and having so many people, the Detroit Lions were part of people's growing up experience all over the nation. Mm-hmm. And I don't think sometimes we understand that. I mean, Terry, how many times have you been on the road, you're covering this, and somebody said, oh, man, you know what? I kind of became a de facto Lions fan because every Thanksgiving at 12:30, you know, we'd have our dinner at 12:30 and the Lions were on. Yeah. And gosh damn, I always kind of rooted for you guys because it always seemed you guys sucked. Well, we did suck a lot more often. I don't think we here in Detroit.
I get that, but I also get why they on at 12:30 on Thanksgiving.
But they watch.
They did watch.
To me, that's the thing. They watch. I don't think we understand that because we grew up with it. This is our life. I don't think you understand. There's some family right now, okay, in Boise, Idaho, that every year, part of their Thanksgiving Day tradition is turning on the Detroit Lions at 12:30.
True. And I got to tell you cable car story. Well, I was with the family in San Francisco, and we were waiting. You know, you have to wait in line to get on the cable car sometimes, like on a Saturday. There's too many people who wants to do it. Anyway, we were on the cable car, and there was a little break, and there was this Green Bay Packers fan and a San Francisco 49ers fan talking about their Super Bowls and their playoff runs and how they love their teams and everything. So they're just going back and forth and stuff, and I'm listening, you know, my ears up, listening. So one guy says, hey, where are you from? I said, I'm from Detroit. Spit came out of there. They were laughing so hard. And so no wonder you're so quiet. You don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
God damn.
And you had nothing to say, did you?
No.
I think we all have a story like you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I was getting absolutely obliterated in Dublin, Ireland.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, man, there ain't no better place to get obliterated. Let me tell you something.
I thought you said that referring to like some other patrons of the bar were
no,
obliterating you.
I was.
You were sauced up.
There's a little.
Now, were you drinking or were you somebody making fun of you?
I was drinking. There's a little area town, Temple Bar. There's a little area town, and I was wearing a Lion shirt. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and made a comment. I can't. Irish people.
Were they from America?
No. Most of the people there are like one German guy, you know, with that German accent, Detroit Lions, and I'm like, hey, settle down, Schwarzenegger, you know. But honestly, people got into it, and I think again, you know, it's a situation we don't understand that we're more on the radar than we imagined because of that Thanksgiving Day game. And Mr. Ford knew what he was doing.
Too, but for the wrong reasons.
100%.
I think people had a sympathy for the Lions because they felt sorry for the Lions. They didn't view the Lions as a threat to their teams. So they're like, oh, yeah, I root for you guys. Blah, blah, blah. But they would never root for the Oakland Raiders. They would never root for the Packers. They would never root for the Vikings. They would never root for anybody who is a threat, who has gone to Super Bowls, who have won Super Bowls. But the Lions, y'all are not a threat. So
there's so much. I couldn't agree with you more. There's so much validity to what you said. Let me give you an example. The Minnesota Vikings. I don't hate the Minnesota Vikings. I pinch the Minnesota Vikings' cheeks. They're adorable. Their fans are adorable. All the shit they talk is adorable. If the Minnesota Vikings win one of those 2 games this year, it's on. I'll hate them. I almost swore. I came so close to swearing. I will bleep and hate them, okay? I'm not there yet because we've had their number for a long period of time, and they're still that little, you know. I hate the Chicago Bears. They've tortured me in my lifetime. They have. They tortured me a couple years ago knocking off the Lions. I mean, how the hell is Justin Fields doing this? Gosh damn it. How the bleep, beep, 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 you know, all that stuff. So, Terry, I think there's more validity to that. You're a cute little story into – listen, guys, you're a baseball guy. The Boston Red Sox. Everybody was a Red Sox fan in 2004 when they were playing the Yankees. Everybody. I swear to God, I used to do this fantasy football show. We were at this bar that doesn't exist, okay? We were in one of the boroughs of Boston. We were in one of the spokes of Boston. That's what it felt like. Everybody in that Game 7, in that bar, was a Red Sox fan. Man and woman alike, everybody had their eyes on the television. You know what happened? The Red Sox won the World Series. And then they did it again. And then they did it again. And then they did it again. Now I feel like this about the Red Sox. Like, seriously.
It's all those fans who don't live in Boston that were rooting for the Red Sox that fall.
Yeah.
So
they now are the same.
At one point in your life, you're hoping when the Lions come up, there's fans in Boise and Green Bay that do like this to the Lions.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I want to be the villain. Yes. Yes, they want to be the villains.
Yeah, give me more of that.
I don't want to be the cute story. I don't want to hear people talk about, golly gee, they've done a great job. You know when you arrive, when people say screw that franchise, you Lion fans are the worst. That I want to hear that. Terry, that's when you arrive. Because then people fear you.
Name a villain who's weak, who's not a threat. Like, villains become villains because when you run into them, you're in trouble. Yeah. You're about to get beat.
Because they beat your ass.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why we want our teams there.
Be the bad guy.
All right, Kool-Aid, what did you want?
Dante 151, baby.
Oh, Mr. Super Chat.
Let's go, Dante 151. Thank you so much. This is a 1999 Super Chat. He says, hey, guys, how you doing this fine Sunday morning? I'm doing great. Saw Gary Clark Jr. on Friday. That was awesome. And yesterday went and saw Ballerina at AMC, which is a branching story of John Wick, and that was a fun watch.
Want to see that.
Thank you, Dante.
Now, is the Ballerina, that's the chick that beats everybody's ass?
It's Anna de Armas. Is that her name?
I like her. I don't know anything about Ballerina, but I like her.
She's a smoke show. She really is.
Yes.
I told the boys I don't know if you guys are into the whole 28 days, 28 weeks, 28 years later. I saw the new
series.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Loved it.
We had a friend who was going to that this weekend, and I don't know much about it, but they were so excited about it. Then all of a sudden I started seeing previews all yesterday on my TV. It was just great.
Gosh, it's been like 20 years since the last one. It's been a long time. It isn't 28 years later, but that's what it's called. And loved it. So if we're gonna go down that road, I got to give my enthusiastic thumbs up for that. Bless you.
And shout out Dante for going to the theater. He went to AMC.
Love it.
I love going to the movies.
I'm with you.
You know, it's way too expensive, but it's different going to the movies than watching on your couch at home, which I also love. But
I'm an Imagine guy. I think Paul Glanz has done such a fantastic job of being one of those guys. I'm with you. I'm old school. I want to go to the theater.
I know.
I want that buttered popcorn, knowing full well there isn't an ounce of butter in whatever that spread is. But gosh damn it, I'm going to pour it all over it. It just hits different. And I get it. You can watch things at home now, and there's comfort to that. I still like going to the theater. I do. I'm old
now, have
school.
you been to the theater where they have the big screen there, and then they have part of the scene that's going on the sides?
I haven't. What theater is
they
that?
Have that now.
Mm-hmm.
They did that at MJR.
Okay.
Where you go clap, clap, clap.
Yeah.
We saw a movie, and then it's like to the side of you, also in addition to the big
That's
screen.
cool.
Yeah.
I got
Willie's all about the nachos and Coke. You know what? So's my boy. My boy, like maybe it's a younger generation thing. Still give me the buttered popcorn.
What about the goobers?
I'm a big fan of goobers. I'm not
Yeah,
arguing.
I like goobers too.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna argue with that.
I do the popcorn. You put the M&Ms or Reese's Pieces in the popcorn. Get a little salty, a
I
little
never
sweet.
did that.
Really?
Yeah, you should try it sometime. Worth it. But I'm also curious. From Steve-O Baby in the chat had a question for Terry. So Terry, what do you put in your cider when you go to the cider mill, or if you pick up cider at the cider mill and take it home?
I don't drink cider,
Okay.
and the reason I drank some cider when I was a kid and got sick and started throwing up. I don't mess with it anymore.
No.
We done.
There's your answer, Steve-O Baby.
Now,
Nothing in the
I will get
cider.
the cider donuts. You know what? The good cider mills, they got great, like cherry and apple pies.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Michigan.
They got.
I mean, I don't know if there are
The styles
lots
of
of
cider
cider mills
donuts.
around the country or Midwest. The cider mills here in Michigan, in the Metro Detroit area, second to none.
We all swear by our favorite one. For me, I grew up with Parmiter's. I will argue with anybody that Parmiter's cider is the best. Now, if you're talking about donuts, I'll pass. There are a lot of Franklin out near your way has fantastic donuts in my mouth.
gotta stay
I
loyal.
disagree.
You don't like them?
Franklin's
They're
definitely
all right,
donuts.
I-
but
I like their donuts.
I can
You
eat
go
12 in one
elsewhere
sitting.
and you get
the best.
donuts that taste way better than Franklin.
Which one?
There's something
I
about
think,
it.
I think Franklin is just the reason they get so much love is because it's so close. Most of the cider mills out in Ypsilanti, out in Armada, out in Romeo and everything, but Franklin is like down the block.
See, that's with me. Parmiter's is in our neighborhood in Northville. I mean, like literally, it's well, not my neighborhood, but I'll put it this way: I can drive my bike there. I will argue to the day I die there isn't better cider, and I like literally so much so that the day that they close, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I buy 4 extra jugs and I put them in my freezer. I still have 1 jug remaining. Not that I know exactly when the cider mill is going to open, August 23rd, for the next season, but I have destroyed 3 of the gallons already. But I save 1 gallon every year for the 1 month to go type of thing. And actually, it'll be 3rd week of July. I'll crack that last gallon open, and it gives me enough time to wait for that new fresh gallon.
Yes.
In
But
October,
when you get the cider early in the year, it's never as good as like late September, early October, because the apples get in prime form.
My mouth is watering.
I love
Like
cider.
Pavlov's
Gosh.
dog.
Well, it's sort of
over
like White Castle. You don't go to White Castle the day it opens. You got to get the grills a little dirty and a
Got
little gritty and stuff. Then you want the burgers off the grill then.
Yep.
So you want the cider, whatever that contraption is, because they put it in layers. If you want that to be dirty and get some little rotten apple stuff in
Let's
there.
be honest. Yeah, you're a grill guy. It's like our grill. Okay. I want some dignity on there. I want a little dignity on my. You got to clean that grill. You got to shut your mouth.
Yes.
No, now granted, I don't want it caked up like that. But,
Right.
There's some hidden morsels on there that are going to hit when I fire up that burger this afternoon.
Right. When you open up that grill, take it out the box. The first time, it's like, damn, this shit stinks. And then the second, third, fourth time, it's a little better, a little better, a little better.
Flavor, a little seasoning.
And all of a sudden, it's great.
By the way, can I answer Steve-O's question?
Yeah.
I do not defile my cider that I buy. I do not. It's that good. I do not defile the cider that I buy, but I'm a big fan of the hard cider. that is already
Already
pre-made.
made.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hard cider. Big fan of hard cider.
Now, if I drank cider, I think I would get a little slushy cider, and put a little bourbon in there.
Oh wow!
Damn.
That's what I would do if I liked it.
If you liked it.
Cider slushies.
And maybe
are
I
so
do
good.
like it now, but it just made me sick as a
Hickory
kid.
wood chips.
Cider slushies are so damn good.
Hickory
I
wood
want to go
chips
to the
too.
cider mill.
No, I'm with you. How about this comment from James Brown, kind of relating back to what we were talking about? Again, the James Brown, who lives up here in Maine, and he can tell you the fan base up here is Patriots, but they've kind of adopted the Lions as their team after the Pats. He says he's been to bars up there hosting Lions football.
Where
Wow.
is
Dude,
he in
that's
Maine?
so cool.
Where are you in Maine, James?
Because
Beautiful state.
me and my son Brandon have Maine on our radar for next either summer or fall. We're going to hit Maine.
A little boys trip.
Little
you
boys
been?
trip. I've never been.
Oh, both. Okay, so you go along the coast. It's very rocky. Get yourself the lobster. What people don't understand, that area of the country, when you go towards the border, I'm serious. There are a lot of places in Vermont and New Hampshire and up in that part of Maine where there are a bunch of French-speaking people, and I don't think people understand that because it's right on the border.
Really?
Yeah, right on the border with Quebec. There are a lot of French-speaking people.
I didn't put that together.
It's such a cool state.
How long is the drive from, like, say, Portland to Halifax?
Oh, that's got to be far, right? That's
Nova Scotia?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. Now I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Because we're thinking of going to Halifax or St. James.
We'll ask James Brown, how far is Halifax from Portland? He's from Topsham. It's 30 miles north of Portland.
Okay.
Yeah. Dante 151. Maine is Lions Pats country as well. Wow, I never knew.
8 hours and 21 minutes.
Oh, that's a.
Hopping on a plane for that one.
8 hours and 21 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
don't know
far.
if we're going to do that thing.
Yeah, that's pretty far. No, there's more that so when my son went to DePaul in Chicago, and in the area that he went, he always watched Michigan State football. There was like a designated Michigan State football bar in Lincoln Park where DePaul is, okay? But he said the big thing was the amount of Detroit transplants. There was a Detroit Lions bar. And he was like, Dad, the place is packed every single week. And so at that time I was doing the show on Fox, and he would send me the pictures every week. And he was like, hey, Dad, just so you know what, like we're watching you here and all that stuff. And it was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but it was Chicago, Illinois. Now, that was Detroit transplants, but I think a lot of people, not all of them were Detroit transplants, and a lot of it comes from, let's be honest, Thanksgiving. And whether we want to admit it or not, okay, we all have to give Mr. Ford a little bit of love, okay? Terry, I know this is going to be hard for you, but I think you know this story as well as anybody else. Mr. Ford basically said to the NFL, you want to take this game away, we're going to take away a lot of the things that the Ford Motor Company does. Because it was
Right.
Lamar Hunt from the Kansas City Chiefs that really made the big stink. And he was like, what? Why does Detroit reap all these benefits? Why does Dallas reap all these benefits? And he wanted the Chiefs to be part of the routine. That's why, if you remember early on with the third game, the Chiefs were usually an opponent or one of the teams. And Mr. Ford, the story goes, Mr. Ford said, that's really cool. That's awesome. And we're going to take away the $100 gazillion that Ford throws at the NFL as one of the sponsors.
Yeah. And the other thing is, other teams didn't want to play on Thanksgiving. That was the Lions doing that. Okay,
It's funny how
so
it changes, isn't it?
Then
Right.
all of a sudden, no, we want to play now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you realize it's a
Just
primetime
kidding.
game now. It's
Right.
all eyes are on
1000%.
you, and
1000%.
social media and TV and streaming. Everything's on. So these players want to play. They'll have Thanksgiving dinner that night or the next day.
You guys, I mean, everybody's got their own story. I kid you not. I thank the Lord that I had a grandmother that was cognizant of the fact that she had a husband that wanted to laugh at the Lions, a son that wanted to laugh at the Lions, and a grandson in me that said, "I'll show both of you they'll win one day." So you know when she had dinner ready? 12:30. Grandma had dinner ready at 12:30 so we could all sit down in the front room, and she had the big TV, and then she had a little TV in the back near the kiddie table. Like, I thank God that she did that, right? And I think so many people have to plan their Thanksgiving accordingly. You know, I mean, for my kids, Thanksgiving for them until one of them was a teenager and the other was in their 20s, Thanksgiving for them is 7:30 when Dad gets home from work. That was Thanksgiving to them. And that's part of our DNA, whether we want to admit it or not. It really is.
Yeah.
Now, as a youth growing up, we did not have Thanksgiving dinner at 12:30. We had a brunch. It would be
That's
quiche
a great idea.
and stuff like that. And then, like,
That's a great idea.
by the end of the Lions game, that's when Grandma would have everything out.
Yeah. We had two. Like there was at grandmother's house, and then my mom had one at home, and that was always about halftime of the Cowboys game. For some
How did we
reason,
get on Thanksgiving today?
I have
This is
no
the summer.
idea.
We're
No, you
talking
know what?
tradition. We're talking.
You know what it was? No, we talked about the Lion fans that are kind of popping up, and I honestly I think Thanksgiving has a big reason to do with that.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. The thing that we used to do, we
Okay,
had
whatever.
Thanksgiving dinner, and I had my boy Big Mac come over, and then we eat a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and then afterwards we would go to his house, where his dad would fry shrimp in the garage, and he had little heaters and stuff like this, and his mother made the best sweet rolls,
Yeah.
and then that would be our second Thanksgiving, shrimp.
Looks like Willie says Grandma's holiday cookies hit different.
It
That
is.
was your thing, Willie?
No doubt.
It hits different, man. I can remember my grandma's turkey, but her fried corn and her fried chicken was off the charts. But her specialty, I can remember this, is her peach cobbler. And it hits different because the smell hits different, it tastes hits different, and her macaroni and cheese. It ain't no loose macaroni and cheese, but the macaroni and cheese that you could scrape them and you could peel it off, and it's just right.
Yep.
And that's one thing about grandma's
Here's
cooking.
the drawback for
It hits different.
Thanksgiving Lion games. Cider mills are not open that day.
Nope.
Nope.
So
You can't escape there.
no, you can't escape.
Mine unfortunately closes the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so like I said, I have to buy extra gallons and everything, and usually serve one at Thanksgiving. But no, I think we're a bigger brand than we give ourselves credit for. The Detroit Lions, I do, for the wrong reasons,
Right.
mind you, for
That
the
might
wrong
be why.
reasons. But I think we're a bigger brand. But we're gonna have that same thing. God forbid we win a Super Bowl. It's gonna be amazing how many people hate us, Terry. It's gonna be amazing how many people
Bring
hate
it
the
on.
Detroit Lions, and I want that. Yes.
Bring on all the smoke.
I hope they're the most hated franchise in the NFL. I hope they come out with one of those silly polls and everybody says the Detroit Lions, because you know what that means? We won. Mm-hmm. No doubt in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fellas, who's the most important player in all of the NFC
Wow.
coming up?
Peter Schraeger had named a Lion.
He did.
That's his most important player.
And he does not have a field named after him on the east side of
He
Detroit.
doesn't. He does it. One day there may be a statue outside Ford Field with him. But no, Peter Schraeger said Jared Goff is the most important player in the NFC. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
If Jared Goff plays Jared Goff football, no turnovers and just moving them up and down the field, the Lions will be the best team. Well, first or second best team in the NFC. But if he turns into turnover Jared Goff, then there's going to be some problems there.
Yeah.
I think we're past the point in time, like not that long ago, a lot of people would argue that the quarterback wasn't the most important person on a team. I think people are educated enough and have watched in real time how the league's very rules themselves have been changed to benefit the quarterback. Let's be perfectly honest. So you have to start there. The most important guy is the quarterback, and that means it's Jared Goff. because the Green Bay Packers aren't going to win a Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. The Chicago Bears, clearly not there yet. I think the one team in the division that has a legitimate chance to say, yeah, we can go win a Super Bowl is the Detroit Lions. So basis of elimination, it's Jared Goff, and I think it's a no-brainer.
Another thing is the Philadelphia Eagles can still win if Jalen Hurts sucks.
Yep.
Great point.
Yep.
But if Jared Goff fails, the Lions are nothing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. What about in division? I know we just kind of wrote off all three, and I'm with you, but do you throw J.J. McCarthy in the conversation? Like if he can have a decent year, that Vikings team won 14 games last year. Like, again, we don't necessarily believe in them yet, but that doesn't mean they weren't a good football team. Right now they don't have a quarterback, but they have J.J. McCarthy.
He's a redshirt rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Can
you give a rookie?
I don't think he's going to show us what Jalen Daniels did.
That was going to be the next name I was going to ask you about.
He will struggle. I don't trust rookie quarterbacks. So I think Minnesota has no shot at winning this division.
Fair.
I think when you look at all the other teams in our division, there are questions about all of those guys. And I will say this again. I know a lot of Packer fans, okay? And there are a lot of Packer fans in particular in the UP. Every Packer fan that I talk to, every single one, says the same thing. I don't know about this Jordan Love. We all kind of assumed, I did, gosh damn it, the Packers did it again. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now, gosh damn it, this Jordan Love is going to torture us. For me, it goes back to the Thanksgiving Day game. Like when he did what he did a couple of years ago, I go, here we go. To say that he didn't follow up with that would be a gross understatement. In particular, I thought the rain game at Lambeau last year. It was like, ooh, I think Superman got himself some kryptonite, didn't he now?
Sure did.
So, same thing, anybody who's writing checks for Caleb's out of their mind. Anybody who's, and JJ, I like JJ.
Yeah.
I think people are giving JJ kind of a bum rap for the offense that they ran at Michigan. He made plays when he had to make plays.
Yeah.
Period, end of story. But he's a redshirt freshman.
Right.
He is. Sorry, he is. I don't trust him. Don't trust him at all.
But the other thing, he didn't have as many opportunities as other quarterbacks when he was at Michigan. Yeah, he did make big plays, but you can make big plays if you don't have to do it all the time. If you have to pass a lot and you have to show your skills a lot, you're going to be exposed at some point. Michigan never put him in a position to be exposed.
Right.
Because he was basically handing the ball off. So I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL.
His throws rolling out were unbelievable. Honestly, I don't think people give him enough credit for when he rolled out and the dimes that he threw, when he was forced, when he had to make those big plays.
But he didn't have to make them a lot.
No, he didn't. And I think that's why, because he didn't have to make them a lot, that's why I think people forget how good he was. That when he had to make those plays, that rollout throw he made was a dime. It really was.
Yeah, but if he's going to be a productive member of the National Football League, he's going to have to make that
all the time.
Rollout pass all the time.
All the time, yep.
And so I'm not convinced of him yet.
It'll take time.
Yeah,
It'll take time.
Minnesota, no. Now, I heard someone say that Jared Goff was the third best quarterback in the NFC Central or Northern Division. How do you react to that, pal?
I think whoever said that was smoking something.
Who said that?
Yeah, I mean,
Jeez,
that person should lose all credibility. It's not a real statement.
I think he had a little bit of haterade in him.
Jared Goff's the least athletic quarterback in the NFC North.
But very smart.
We can say that.
All right.
He's by far the best quarterback, by far.
Before I ask, I'm really intrigued to hear the two that he picked. Can I guess whoever this human being is, they picked Jordan Love and Caleb Williams?
Yes.
How the? Okay, cool.
You mean the guys are painting his nails?
Okay.
Seriously?
Cool.
You can't make. I mean, it's not real. Wow. It's not even close.
And that his MVP campaign last year was fake.
Yeah, so
Seriously?
fake. Best offense in the league, 15-2 record. Again, this is a regular season award.
You know what everybody points to? You know as well as I do. Everybody points to the Houston game. Everybody points to the Houston game. You know as well as I do.
Yeah.
Where even after all that, he found a way to bring the team back and win the game. That doesn't we got to forget about that. It was just all the interceptions he threw that day.
Yeah.
If we want to admit it or not, and I said this when I was working with the fellas on Big D, that was the moment Jared Goff's MVP case went out the window.
Right.
Whether we wanted to admit it, and nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear it. But you guys know the national media, okay? Terry, you know the national media.
Listen, knew it was done too.
Lazy. They saw that game on primetime. That might be the only time. Well, I don't need to check back in with Jared Goff. Did you watch that game? They're not putting in the work to watch all the other games. You know, they're going to watch another game, but everything's going to come back to that game. So it was done in that moment, whether we wanted to hear it or not.
Yeah. We in Detroit, we knew that was a bit of an outlier, and we knew that he has total control of this team, and he even led that team back to a victory with 5 interceptions. But you're right, from a national standpoint, which is how the MVP is voted, you see 5 interceptions on primetime TV, it's toast.
Just as whether we want to admit it or not, Josh Allen won it very late, due in part to his disassembling of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
That was one of the games that a lot of people around the nation had circled, and he went through that span. Was it? Gosh, I forget the game they played before. That was one of the national games where he went off, and then he did it to the Lions. That 2-week span, it was like, all right, you can all go to bed now. Josh Allen's winning the MVP.
Yeah, a 1 o'clock Sunday game, if you crap the bed, doesn't hurt you.
Right.
But if it's 4 o'clock Sunday, it will. If it's 8 o'clock Sunday, it will. If it's 9 o'clock Monday, it will, because everybody's watching.
Yeah.
1 o'clock Sunday games, you kind of look at it, say, okay, 4 interceptions, whatever they won, boom, and you move on.
Yeah.
But when it's prime time, you're like, oh, I saw this. He sucked. I'm marking him down a couple pegs.
Right.
So that's what happened.
Not like, oh, one of those picks was at the end of the half. One was on a bad route. There's context to it all, but that took him out of the race.
But he still threw him.
He did.
All right.
Josh
100%.
Allen, you know what game it was? It was that game against the Rams where he had 6 touchdowns, where he threw for 342 yards and then had 82 yards rushing. He had 6 touchdowns that game. He followed up that NFL game of the week with the game against the Lions. It was like, all right, this is over.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for playing.
The impact he has on his team is probably unlike any other in the National Football League.
But
No doubt.
some shade is going to come down on him if he can't make it to the Super Bowl.
True.
At least one.
I think he and Lamar have the misfortune of living their days in the Patrick Mahomes era.
Yeah.
I think both of them. And you're
Are you
absolutely
throwing
right,
Lamar
too.
into that?
Oh, Lamar has to go in
Yeah.
Lamar, he can't beat anybody in the playoffs. I mean, forget Kansas City.
there. Yeah.
What about everybody else?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, until those guys win something, that's just the way. I'll say this to my dying breath. Dan Marino's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. I will say it. Terry, I don't know your thoughts. Dan Marino's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen.
I think that goes without question.
His name never gets thrown out there. Why? He went to the Super Bowl once early in his career, got his ass kicked, and never got back. That's it. Period. I mean, them's the rules.
Right.
Them's the rules. I mean, that's the way it is, man.
Are we going to say that about Aaron Rodgers, too? Got Super Bowl early and looks like he's not going back.
I think the difference is he won. Honestly, whether it's fair or not, I'm not here to debate that. I think that's the difference is Aaron Rodgers won. But you wait, Terry. The renaissance of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers is nigh.
All right. No, but I don't think it changes Aaron Rodgers, even though he won. I still think if he goes the rest of his career, which it looks like he's going to do with no Super Bowl,
Not winning
he's
anything.
going to get shade too.
Oh,
for
he
that.
will. He'll get shade thrown his way. He'll get shade. I say to you guys, John Elway was picked on more than any quarterback. I mean, go watch old Simpsons episodes. I mean, the shots at John Elway and the Denver Broncos. Funny thing happens when you win a couple Super Bowls to end your career.
Right.
His entire legacy changed. He's known as a winner.
But what did he get? They gave him a little gift wrap for his Super Bowl run. A running game.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens, huh?
Terrell Davis.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're saying a great quarterback still needed a running game and like pieces around him to be thought of in that ilk?
Imagine that.
It's odd.
Yeah.
I was told that it's got to be all the quarterback. Like they can't have a good coaching staff. They can't have weapons around them. They got to do it all themselves to be considered elite, right?
Well, it depends on the quarterback, and it depends on who's talking.
Yeah.
So Jared Goff is criticized because he has so many weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know the last quarterback that won a Super Bowl, won an MVP, who had a team around him that stunk.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for long-winded one. Tell me
No
what
one.
quarterback won an MVP or won a Super Bowl and his team around him stunk. You know what? We got a guy in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Hell of a quarterback.
Really
He
good.
can't do anything because his team sucks. He's putting up all these little yards.
Here come
He's
the
doing
Bengals.
this.
One of my favorite bits of the year. Here come the Bengals. It's such a cute
I thought
little
you called
bit.
them the Bumbles.
We had to remember that game is like late November or early December. It was here come the Cowboys taking on here come the Bengals. And we were calling it the back bowl because whoever won that game, you know what they're going to say after? The Cowboys are back. The
Right.
Bengals are
Yup.
back. You know, it's kind of a yearly dynamic that takes place. And no, T, you're right. I mean, it's I don't think it's necessarily fair to Joe Burrow. I don't. I think there's so much disaster around that team. That is another really poorly run franchise, okay? Really poorly run franchise. But fair or not, those things exist for a reason, man. And there's only one to check. Just like same old Lions. People could cry all they wanted about same old Lions. There's a reason it exists. And in my mind, they've done enough to make it go away.
Yeah. It's going to be fun watching Joe Burrow in New York in 2026.
Yeah, he'll be somewhere else.
Be
No
somewhere,
question.
somewhere in New York.
Now, where do all the quarterbacks who are fed up with their franchise go? Go to L.A.? I think they're going to start going to Vegas, New York. Those are going to be the three spots.
Yeah. You know, Joey Burrow in New York, in the city, for the Jets
yeah.
or the Giants.
Oh, he'll be king there.
They're waiting for him.
It's not Dallas because that's the place where their general manager thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So he's going to pick a guy later in the draft, and he's going to tell everybody that that's the next great quarterback.
Yeah.
Whether it be Quincy Carter, whether it be Tony Romo, Dak Prescott, that's kind of the routine. So you know, I think in your he'd be a great fit in Dallas. No, because you're taking away from the greatness of one Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
You know, he ain't gonna give up on Dak. No way, no how, right?
I think Jerry Jones likes big names, though.
I do too, but not necessarily at the quarterback position. Because I think if you look at his quarterbacks, everybody and their brother knew that Quincy Carter was not a good quarterback,
Right.
okay? And he anointed Quincy Carter the next quarterback. Then it was Tony Romo. You know, who the hell was Tony Romo? What, Eastern Illinois or whatever the hell it was? And Parcells, in fairness, fell in love with Tony Romo. And then Dak. I mean, I remember Dak at Mississippi State. Pretty good SEC quarterback. But there's a reason he went, third round? There's a reason he went. But Jerry Jones is the smartest guy in the room.
He was undersized.
Yeah, smartest guy in the room. That's my quarterback, and that's who I'm going with, you know? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it happens. But, Terry, you're right. I think all those quarterbacks go to New York because they're going to be the guy that bring the Giant back. They're going to be the guy that brings the Jets back.
And the other thing, coach's ego. He failed here, but I can turn him around.
Uh-huh.
You said it best.
Bam.
Jared Goff. We got lucky. A guy that was legitimately broken. Whether we want to admit it or not, that man was broken.
Yeah.
And they sprinkled some sauce on him, and he's an absolute weapon now.
And believed in him.
Yep.
That
was huge.
To me, that was the key.
That's all
Dan
it
Campbell
takes.
believed in Jared Goff. Brad Holmes did. He's like, no, he's not a bridge quarterback. He said from day one, he's not a bridge quarterback. And we were like, ha, ha, ha.
I didn't believe it.
Whatever, dude.
I didn't believe it.
Brad Holmes put in the work to scout him in 2016.
I remember my retort was, well, what's he supposed to say? Is he supposed to throw his quarterback under the bus? Come on, you can't be that stupid.
Yeah, that's true. He couldn't say.
Yeah,
even
but
if he
but
believed it. Yeah.
Terry, I mean, I think he did believe it, though. I believe that Brad Holmes.
There's certain things you cannot say in sports. For instance, no matter how disgruntled you are as a player, you can't say, I don't like it here.
Right.
Because the fans just go ape shit.
A lot of times, and we saw this with one John Joseph Harrington, it isn't what they say, it's what they don't say. Mm-hmm. And Steve Mariucci, all you had to do is look at his reactions. When they were at camp, when he was asked about him, you never got an endorsement. And there was a look of shock that first camp. I'm not joking. I saw it.
No. That he looked like he had gas. I remember I did a feature on Joey Harrington, and so then I talked to Steve Mariucci afterwards. Coaches always say something good about their players, and I gave him a softball question about Joey Harrington. And he looked at me like this, like,
yep.
And then gave me some BS answer. But it looked like somebody had just passed gas, which maybe I did. I don't know. I don't think I did, but maybe I did. But he looked like maybe he had gas.
Right.
So, yeah, he never had anything good to say about him. Never had that's my guy. He'd be like, yeah, that's our quarterback.
Wild times. Dante151 got a super chat in right here at the wire, $4.99 as we wrap up the show.
Boom.
Terry and Sean said, what if Joe Burrow became the next Lions QB to replace
You know who
Jared
would block
Goff?
it? This man right here would block it.
He makes a lot of money. We're going to have to say goodbye to two other stars on this team if we're paying Joey B.
Well, you cut Jared Goff.
Well, then Joe Burrow gets replaced with that much. I'm not saying no to Joe Burrow. I'm rolling with my guy Jared Goff right now, though. That was a hypothetical. That I'm not. You're not getting me to go down that path, Terry.
You're not going to allow Joe Burrow to come to Detroit. You'll be in front of the gates at Allen Park saying, no, go back.
Joe Burrow could be the second best quarterback in this league, maybe the most talented. I wouldn't even be able to say no. But my quarterback is Jared Goff, and he's won me some playoff games. I've never seen him before.
Maybe they have Joe Burrow come in. They have an open quarterback competition, and maybe your boy Jared Goff wins it.
He's a competitor. He doesn't like to back down from anybody. He's beat Mahomes. He's never lost to Mahomes. He lost to Tom Brady, the GOAT, in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady didn't throw a touchdown pass either, for all of you in the chat that was going to say, well, Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown pass. Neither did Tom. So,
Patrick Mahomes or Jared Goff?
Patrick Mahomes. I'm not an idiot. I just love my quarterback.
Okay.
Are we done?
Run, Matt. Run.
9:33.
Okay.
Unless you had something to add.
No, we went extra. I love it.
We always do, but let's cut it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back here next Sunday at 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to it. See you guys.
Be good.